My name is Assata Shakur, and I was born and raised in the United States. I am a descendant of Africans who were kidnapped and brought to the Americas as slaves.
Revolutionary freedom fighter, long live the glorious legacy of Assata Shakur. Her name has been misrepresented. Her character has been character assassination by the FBI, and especially in the latest tweet from Cash Patel, a protector of pedophiles condemning a fighter for freedom. Make that make sense. He should be disgusted with his own self, but they're not. They'll protect a pedophile any day of the week, and they will mislead and misrepresent what truly happened to those black leaders in the 1960s who were targeted by the FBI COINTELPRO, who went out to assassinate these black leaders, who went out and targeted these black groups in order to destroy them, and incarcerated many of the individuals that they did not execute. So we have plenty of these individuals who are political prisoners to this day. So allow us to dive in and share with you Assata Shakur's true story. She was attacked and sought out to be murdered by the cops that she and the group of individuals, one of which who were with her, was murdered, and a cop that tried to kill them were murdered as well, which showed that she could not have killed the cop because she was shot with her hands up. But yet this FBI, no matter who's the talking head, black, white, or in Cash Patel's situation, I don't know his nationality or his ethnicity, but these individuals all speak the same talking points, irregardless of the truth of the matter. Allow us to listen to Assata Shakur in her own words explain her plight. Allow us to dive in.
Extradition.
My name is Assata Shakur, and I was born and raised in the United States. I am a descendant of Africans who were kidnapped and brought to the Americas as slaves. I spent my early childhood in the racist, segregated South. I later moved to the northern part of the country, where I realized that black people were equally victimized by racism and oppression.
And this is what individuals really don't want to hear and understand. Although the South wasn't so-called segregated by law, it was definitely still a racial undertone and a racist society where many individuals, not all white individuals, but many individuals in the North, and the system, beyond the individual American who happened to be white or black, the system was still intact for the racial discrimination that was the hallmark of its beginning. Allow her to continue.
I grew up and became a political activist, participating in student struggles, the anti-war movement, and most of all, in the movement for the liberation of African Americans in the United States. I later joined the Black Panther Party, an organization that was targeted by the COINTELPRO program, a program that was set up by the Federal Bureau of Investigation.
And again, many of you think that the Black Panther Party was a racist party. No, they was a defender of black people's rights. They also got into agreements with individuals who were not black. They didn't care about the color of who was oppressing them. They just cared that they was oppressed, and they did many things that you call on blacks to do today for themselves. In the 60s, we had multiple groups of individuals who were actually doing for self, who took up the mantle to not only defend themselves, but also build medical small facilities, to establish the free lunch program for individuals who were poor and couldn't get the food, to establish educational curriculums, to establish discipline, to establish all those things that and characteristics in a human being that you would respect irregardless of their color. The racist system at that time did not want that to be the case. They would complain about black people not doing for self, but when the blacks started to do for self, they immediately, by the government, targeted those black organizations, assassinating the leaders. If they didn't assassinate them, they locked them up on trumped up charges, and they infiltrated those systems with other blacks, creating chaos and a lot of chaos that to destroy those black organizations, but they were infiltrated by FBI affiliates, FBI individuals that were working not for the FBI as an employee, but as an agitator. So again, we have to look at these stories from the real perspective. Allow us to continue.
To eliminate all political opposition to the U.S. government's policies, to destroy the Black liberation movement in the United States, to discredit activists, and to eliminate potential leaders. Under the COINTELPRO program, many political activists were harassed, imprisoned, murdered, or otherwise neutralized as a result of being targeted by
That right there is the great young Fred Hampton. He was the precursor to bringing in multiple coalitions of people who felt that they were being oppressed or not being heard. We're talking about white groups as well, the Weathermen. We're talking about Hispanic groups that he reached out to. He was forming a coalition, and they set him up. They installed a black plant into the organization. They came in and murdered him while he was asleep. This is your government, and this is during the time of individuals who are still living today. Right before my birth, when it comes to his assassination, I was born and upwards of 5 years old. I was born when she got her charges against the white cop. And we're talking about Assata Shakur. Whether it was white cop or black cop, it doesn't matter. Again, race is not the issue with me. It is, what are you doing? How are you going about? And if you are oppressing individuals, discriminating against individuals because of their race, etc., then it has to be called out for what it is. So again, don't get it twisted. I don't ride with the Democrat Party or the Republican. I don't deal with black Democrats who are ridiculous as well with their agenda. And I am starting not to deal with these black conservatives and the white ones who are essentially standing behind Trump as he has capitulated and he has negated and disavowed the American First policy, and you know for who. So again, I got my issues with both sides, regardless of the race and or ethnicity and or sex.
COINTELPRO, I, like many other young people, was faced with the threat of prison, underground, exile, or death. The FBI, with the help of local police agencies, systematically fed false accusations and fake news articles to the press, accusing me and other activists of crimes we did not commit. Although in my case, the charges were eventually dropped or I was eventually acquitted, the national and local police agencies created a situation where, based on their false accusations against me, any police officer could shoot me on sight. It was not until the Freedom of Information Act was passed in the mid-70s that we began to see the scope of the United States government's persecution of political activists. At this point, I think that it is important to make one thing very clear. I have advocated, and I still advocate, revolutionary changes in the structure and in the principles that govern the United States. I advocate self-determination for my people and for all oppressed people inside the United States. I advocate an end to capitalist exploitation, the abolition of racist policies, the eradication of sexism, and the elimination of political repression. If that is a crime, then I am totally guilty. To make a long story short, I was captured in New Jersey in 1973 after being shot with both arms held in the air and then
Repeat that. After being shot with both arms held in the air. Because as she found out, they were told that on sight she was to be shot, even though she had been acquitted of those trumped up charges that they placed against them. And you want us to, or any individual that has a character, not based on a racial identity, but based on a character identity. Any individual with a character understands that if something is wrong, it's wrong for the whole. And we must speak out against that, no matter who's doing it. But again, we have this policy, especially when it comes to these conservatives, and especially when it comes to the conservatives who happen to be white. But the black ones are not excused from this as well. They want you to celebrate and honor the founding fathers, the initiators of a constitution that said that blacks were 3/4 of a human being. So you want us to celebrate and honor some racist individuals who didn't even deem us as full human beings. This is how sick the mind is. Two things can be true. The founding fathers could have done and did do great things for particularly white men, and white women got some of the benefit because they were married to the white men. And as a whole, white people had a step up on blacks, because even at the bottom echelon of white society, they too felt that they were better than blacks because they saw blacks as being inferior, and the Constitution labeled them not even full human. So again, we must understand, you can celebrate the founding fathers, you can do that. I would never celebrate them in that way. I will acknowledge that they did great things in many situations, and I will acknowledge that they were racist and they oversaw and legitimized, codified a system that was already running 150 years before they founded the nation. They codified it into law as the law of the land of a newly acquired nation. Discrimination, oppression, legalizing rape, murder, etc. Anything you want to do to blacks was legal. So they were racist. Point blank. It is what it is.
Shot again from the back. I was left on the ground to die. And when I did not, I was taken to a local hospital where I was threatened, beaten, and tortured. In 1977, I was convicted in a trial that can only be described as a legal lynching. In 1979, I was able to escape with the aid of some of my fellow comrades. I saw this as a necessary step, not only because I was innocent of the charges against me, but because I knew that the racist legal system in the United States, I would receive no justice. I was also afraid that I would be murdered in prison. I later arrived in Cuba, where I am currently living in exile as a political refugee. The New Jersey State Police and other law enforcement officials say they want to see me brought to justice. But I would like to know what they mean by justice. Is torture justice? I was kept in solitary confinement for more than 2 years, mostly in men's prisons. Is that justice? My lawyers were threatened with imprisonment and imprisoned. Is that justice? I was tried by an all-white jury without even the pretext of impartiality, and then sentenced to life in prison plus 33 years. Is that justice? Let me emphasize that justice for me is not the issue I am addressing here. It is justice for my people that is at stake.
So again, you see the powerful strength of Assata Shakur. Long live her memory. Long live her legacy. And we must get out there and neutralize the falsified stories that this government made up in order to try to justify their intentions to kill her and kill those individuals in the Black Liberation Armies, in the Black Panther Party. If they don't kill them, lock them up for the rest of their lives. These were politically targeted attempts by the COINTELPRO It is well documented. And again, Cash Patel is disgusting and disgraceful when he tweets something about her death in a negative way, talking about she was a fugitive, she murdered a cop, etc. The cop was murdered because the cop was trying to murder them. And they have no way of proving that she murdered the cop. The evidence showed in trial, and many individuals came and spoke, doctors, that she could not have shot the officer because she was already shot 2 times while her hands was up and in her back. She is a powerful woman. Her legacy is a legacy that if many of those in the black community who have just went buck wild, if they had any of the self-respect that these individuals had before them, they would not be engaged in the foolery that they are engaged in. So long live the legacy of Assata Shakur. May you rest in peace. Sending you peace and love. Peace.